Long-promised star witness turns out to be a fugitive from American justice, an arms trafficker indicted on 8 federal criminal felony counts and an unregistered foreign agent for China who tried to trade Chinese arms for Iranian oil. So I guess he's not going to be a witness for the majority anytime soon. Well, after the failed SARS reports, bank records, Form 1023, we can conclude that this Inspector Clouseau-style quest for something that doesn't exist has turned our committee into a theater of the absurd.
Ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, Maryland Democrat Jamie Raskin, blasting his Republican colleagues over their failed efforts to paint President Joe Biden as the mastermind behind a family crime ring. That hearing featured a pair of IRS investigators, Gary Shapley and Joseph Ziegler, who testified the DOJ essentially slow-walked its investigation into Hunter Biden and ignored recommendations to file felony tax charges, instead striking a plea deal that allows the president's son to avoid prison time.
So the slow-walking by the Trump
the
Justice
Trump folks.
Department as well. Yeah.
Right. So that, along with everything else we've been talking about this morning, should tell you everything you need to know. The pair allege that Trump-appointed U.S. Attorney David Weiss, the prosecutor leading the Hunter Biden probe, was prevented from bringing charges in jurisdictions outside Delaware. But Weiss has told Congress he was granted, quote, ultimate authority over where, when, and whether to file charges in the case. Ziegler said he was the lead IRS case agent on the investigation and that the IRS had recommended both felony and misdemeanor charges against Hunter Biden. But Democratic Congressman Raja Krishnamurthy of Illinois got Ziegler to admit that the federal officials he was dealing with and with whom he had concerns were actually members of the Trump administration before Biden ever took office.
You say, quote, I started this investigation in November 2018 after reviewing bank deposits. Then you later say career IRS staff were not initially supportive of starting the investigation. Of course, in November 2018, Joe Biden was not the president, correct?
Joe Biden was not the president, correct.
And then at page 20, you lay out another concern. You had a concern about Bill Barr, Attorney General Bill Barr, consolidating these series of cases into the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware. At that point, you said, quote, what was the potential issue I saw with working the case in Delaware? We were working with a small U.S. Attorney's Office who might not have ever worked a case of this caliber. Now, of course, Bill Barr was appointed by Donald Trump, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Now, let me turn to another concern that you lay out in your testimony. You were concerned about the quality of the prosecutors. On page 14, you say, quote, the prosecutors were the JV squad, and they weren't up to the task of handling such a big case. Now, sir, U.S. Attorney Weiss was also appointed by Donald Trump, right?
So as far as the actual nomination and what went into why...
I'm not asking you why. I'm just saying USA Weiss was appointed by Donald Trump, correct?
That is correct.
So you have lies, exaggerations, arms dealers, Chinese agents, people that smuggle Iranian oil to the Chinese Communist Party, and now Trump IRS agents, Trump attorney generals, Trump prosecutors, all appointed by Donald Trump. And these complaints starting in 2018 when Donald Trump would be president for 2 more years, over 2 years. Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna of California also got Shapley to admit that tax counsel decides not to charge the vast majority of cases like Hunter Biden's. In fact, it's a small minority of people who got targeted like Hunter Biden did. Shapley also admitted under Congressman Khanna's questioning that he never said, despite Republican lies, he never said that Merrick Garland lied to Congress, that right-wing talking point was, in fact, a lie. Let's bring in right now the number 2 Democrat in the House Minority Whip, Catherine Clark of Massachusetts. Congresswoman, it's just, again, I mean, we started with Durham. He was going to prove that Hillary Clinton tapped Donald Trump's phones and the FBI was in on it. He ended up being made a fool of himself. 24 jurors in 2 separate trials dismissed charges. I found that those that he charged not guilty. It was a complete bust. Then we have House Republicans bringing in arms dealers, Chinese agents, people that illegally smuggle Iranian oil. Now we have these so-called whistleblowers who are saying, yeah, we're really angry. It's really terrible what Trump's IRS people did and Trump's attorney general did and Trump's prosecutor did. I mean, it's just a clown show with these House Republicans, isn't it?
Absolutely. Listen, the circus has come to town with the House GOP. And what's dangerous about this is that the American people and their needs are not part of their agenda. And they want to focus on this political theater. They are so wrapped up in their own, salaciousness that they have totally lost the thread that what they're here to do is find solutions for the American people. And they don't want to talk about that with the Biden administration and Democrats in Congress, we have been able to grow the economy by growing the middle class. We've been able to reduce healthcare costs. Just look at 1 year ago, we capped insulin at $35 a month. There wasn't a single Republican vote because their focus is on this chaos. And it is not what the American people need. But we're going to keep doing our jobs. We're going to keep focusing on the solutions that matter, whether that's reducing the cost of health care, groceries, gasoline, or whether that is making sure that we are addressing climate change, as most of this country is suffering from an incredible heat wave, and making sure that we have the energy and the renewable energy to meet those demands. Gun violence. They don't want to talk about it, but they put a bill on the floor this week that was completely manufactured crisis about migrants in schools. Let's talk about how we keep families safe at home. Let's put the focus back on the American family and stop this theater.